Hi.
Hello, everybody.
Hello. Hi, Mariam.
Hi, Dean. How are you? And everybody else. Listen, Reem, I just want to say that I have a very unstable electricity. I'm trying to follow also with my G, but maybe sometimes I will drop out and come back. I'm really trying my best to fix the problem now. It's just happened.
Okay.
Thanks.
No problem. Okay, so facilitators, harvesters, I hope you're all ready. And yeah, we should all be set. Godson, our interpreters, I can see that they should be set up. And I think we are all set. Hello, everyone. So we're just going to start in a few minutes. Hello, everyone. Happy International Youth Day, and welcome to the Post-GEF Youth Forum. My name is Sayeda Reem Hussain, and I will be here to host you today and take you through this informal youth space. So welcome to the Post-GEF Youth Forum. Like I said, I will be your host, and I'll be accompanied by Sotbadaji, my colleague, who will also be hosting us today. So the forum today is very informal. It is a youth space, and we're going to spend time really just focusing and sharing around the question, what are the challenges and solutions for Action Coalition's commitments and accountability? So we look forward to hearing your stories and your experiences around the thematic areas of this Action Coalition. So we will start off today with a very brief opening and framing of the session, and we're very happy to have today with us a few speakers who are grounded in the process of the GEF Forum and who would start off by framing and setting the scene in terms of what has been done so far and what is the potential for the next 5 years. So if you're logging in via the Zoom link, please note that at the bottom of the screen, you're able to access interpretation. So if you click interpretation, you're able to select whether it is French or in English. And if there are any technical difficulties, please let us know in the chat. For those watching us via our social media, via live stream, please do participate. We'd love to hear your experiences and your stories from the context that you're calling in from. So without further ado, I would like to introduce Ms. Sarah Favre, who is the Action Coalition's Program Manager, to frame and set the scenes in terms of the GEF process and the Action Coalition program. Sarah, welcome.
Thank you so much, Sayeda, and thank you to everyone who is with us today. I'm going to speak in French if this is possible. Je voudrais d'abord remercier le collectif féministe Nala de m'avoir invité en cette journée internationale de la jeunesse, et puis vous exprimer aussi mon admiration pour le travail et le leadership remarquable des jeunes, en particulier les jeunes africaines et africains, depuis l'initiation des coalitions d'action, dont j'ai le plaisir d'être la chargée de programme. Je suis ravie d'être avec vous aujourd'hui à un moment charnière pour nous, pour les coalitions d'action, un peu plus d'1 mois après leur lancement lors du Forum Génération Égalité à Paris et la mobilisation de plus de 40 milliards d'engagements pour l'égalité entre les sexes. Ces 40 milliards, c'est une réussite sans précédent pour l'égalité entre les sexes. Et c'est aussi un engagement qui nous permettra de mettre en place les réformes nécessaires que nous avons rassemblées dans ce que nous appelons le plan d'accélération globale pour l'égalité entre les sexes. Et je serai ravie de partager le lien avec vous dans le chat d'ici quelques minutes. Ce plan rassemble toutes les réformes que nous estimons, que nous et nos partenaires, y compris les jeunes, estimons nécessaires pour améliorer l'égalité entre les sexes sur les 5 prochaines années. Je voudrais d'abord revenir sur le rôle central que les jeunes ont joué depuis l'initiation des coalitions d'action en 2019. Et vous rappeler 2 choses. Vous rappelez d'abord le constat sur lequel ces coalitions d'action ont été lancées, pourquoi nous avons mené tout ce travail-là, et vous rappelez aussi l'ambition de ces coalitions d'action. En ce qui concerne donc le constat est simple. Le constat a été fait en 2019. Nous étions près de 25 ans après la déclaration et la plateforme d'action de Beijing. Et 25 ans plus tard, aucun pays n'avait réalisé l'égalité entre les sexes. L'égalité entre les sexes est, comme vous le savez, un prérequis essentiel pour le développement économique, social et politique. Donc, sans cela, aucun développement ne peut être durable ou réel. Le deuxième constat était que non seulement donc, aucun pays n'avait réalisé l'égalité entre les sexes, mais les jeunes filles étaient les premières victimes de ces lacunes. Et je voudrais étayer ici mon propos par un chiffre qui est simple mais en même temps édifiant, qui est l'accès à l'éducation pour les jeunes adolescentes en Afrique. Donc 38% des adolescentes et jeunes filles en Afrique sont hors du système éducatif. c'est-à-dire 4 filles, 4 adolescentes et jeunes filles sur 10. C'est un chiffre qui est énorme. Ce chiffre est de 2% en Europe et de 12% en Afrique du Nord et au Moyen-Orient. Donc ça, c'est pour le constat. C'est sur la base de ce constat-là que ONU Femmes, en partenariat avec les gouvernements français et mexicains et en partenariat avec la société civile et les organisations de jeunes, ont décidé d'initier les coalitions d'action qui sont le plus important programme multipartenaire pour l'égalité entre les sexes. En ce qui concerne l'ambition était simple. L'ambition était d'accélérer donc l'égalité entre les sexes via des actions concrètes qui, pour la première fois, réunissaient des acteurs publics et privés de différents pays, de différents continents, et qui mettaient au centre de la réflexion et de l'action les jeunes, en leur donnant une opportunité d'écouter les défis qu'ils rencontrent, d'écouter les solutions qu'ils ont éprouvées et qu'ils voudraient mettre en place, et de les mettre donc au centre de notre définition de plan. Pour conclure, donc, les coalitions d'action reconnaissent les jeunes comme les premières victimes des inégalités entre les sexes, mais également comme les principaux porteurs de changement. Et sur cette base-là, les jeunes ont réalisé un travail remarquable en définissant aux côtés d'autres acteurs ce que j'ai mentionné plus tôt, c'est-à-dire le plan d'accélération globale pour l'égalité des sexes. Ils ont identifié de façon conjointe avec nos autres partenaires des actions nécessaires pour réaliser l'égalité entre les sexes sur les 5 prochaines années. Et ils ont mis au centre des préoccupations et au centre de ces actions le droit et les défis des jeunes. Je voudrais citer quelques exemples d'actions pour rendre la chose un peu plus concrète et je vous laisserai feuilleter le plan d'accélération globale pour l'égalité entre les sexes si vous ne l'avez pas déjà fait. Je vais vous citer donc 3 actions qui sont dans ce plan-là. La première action est en lien avec l'autonomie corporelle et les droits sexuels et reproductifs. Donc, une des actions mentionne ceci: développer l'éducation sexuelle complète à l'école et hors de l'école pour toucher 50 millions d'enfants, d'adolescents et de jeunes supplémentaires dans toute leur diversité d'ici 2026. Une autre action a également été définie par les jeunes en collaboration avec nos autres partenaires en ce qui concerne donc les mouvements guidés par les jeunes. Et cette action vise à renforcer la position des adolescentes et des jeunes leaders féministes et de leurs mouvements et organisations en leur allouant des ressources financières, techniques ou autres, spécifiques et flexibles, et en assurant le suivi et l'évaluation de ces ressources. Cette action vise également à créer des espaces sûrs et inclusifs pour diriger, administrer conjointement, participer de manière substantielle et co-créer des processus décisionnels. Enfin, je citerai un 3e exemple d'action qui vise à accroître la proportion des femmes et des filles qui prennent part aux décisions et qui occupent des fonctions de leadership dans la gouvernance environnementale et les secteurs impliqués dans la transition vers une économie circulaire, verte et régénératrice. C'est donc fort de ce succès, de ce partenariat excellent avec les jeunes lors de cette première phase des coalitions d'action. Donc, la première phase a inclus la définition du plan d'accélération globale pour l'égalité des sexes et inclut la mobilisation des engagements. Nous allons donc maintenant entrer dans une seconde phase qui n'est pas des moindres, qui est la mise en place effective de ces engagements-là, parce que bien évidemment, il ne suffit pas de prononcer des engagements, il faut s'assurer que ces engagements soient vraiment transcrits en actions concrètes et aient un impact concret pour les filles et les femmes dans tout le monde, et avec un focus bien évidemment sur les jeunes filles et les femmes les plus marginalisées. Durant cette seconde phase, donc de mise en place des engagements, les jeunes, en particulier les jeunes filles et garçons d'Afrique, auront un rôle clé à jouer, et auront même 3 rôles, je dirais, à jouer. Un premier rôle qui est un rôle stratégique dans la définition de ce qu'on appelle le cadre de redevabilité. Ce cadre de redevabilité est un petit peu notre feuille de route pour nous assurer que les engagements sont bien tenus. Les jeunes vont participer à la définition de ce cadre en nous faisant part de leurs propositions de leurs suggestions et de leurs idées. Donc ça, c'est le premier rôle qui est un rôle stratégique. Il y a un second rôle qui est un rôle de mobilisateur. Ce rôle de mobilisation, nos jeunes partenaires l'ont déjà mis en route lors de la première phase. Et il consiste à rallier les organisations de jeunes, les réseaux de jeunes, afin que nous ayons le plus d'engagement possible et afin que ces engagements-là soient bien évidemment transcrits en action. Enfin, il y a un troisième rôle que les jeunes pourront jouer lors de cette phase de mise en place des engagements, qui est ce qu'on peut appeler un rôle d'agent de redevabilité. Ce rôle d'agent de redevabilité consiste concrètement à s'assurer que l'ensemble des partenaires des coalitions d'action font bien ce qu'ils ont dit, c'est-à-dire qu'ils tiennent bien leurs engagements. Ça passe par une revue de ce qui est fait, mais ça passe également par de la communication, par de la mobilisation des réseaux sociaux et des outils habituels de redevabilité. Je voudrais conclure par vous réitérer vraiment mon admiration face à la conscience, à la force d'action et d'inspiration que vous représentez tous. Vous êtes l'avenir de l'égalité entre les sexes, l'avenir de ce continent, et nous comptons sur vous toutes et tous pour faire de l'ambition des coalitions d'action une réalité pour des millions de filles et de femmes, en particulier les plus marginalisées. Merci infiniment.
Thank you very much, Sarah, and thank you for starting off by framing us really into the history of what has been happening around action coalitions. I'm now really happy to welcome Ms. Bianska Wanis, one of our elders who has been formidable in the activism around and the advocacy for generations around gender equality. Ms. Gawanis is a lawyer and former UN special advisor on Africa. Mama Gawanis, please, you have the mic.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon, good morning to everyone. My apologies for joining late, but I've been really struggling. It's not that I am technologically challenged, but for some reason I just could not connect on the on my laptop or iPad. So here we are. I'm asked to really speak very generally on the gender equality, how far we have come, where we are going, etc. But I also would like to focus on one of the action coalitions, and that is the, bodily autonomy, because I'm currently serving as a board member and treasurer of the International Planned Parenthood Association, Federation, IPPF. And as you know, it is a global organization promoting sexual and reproductive health and rights. And so, since I'm busy with that area of focus in terms of my work, I would definitely want to touch upon that. But also just to say that there are times that I just get the feel that youth become despondent, they despair, they think that the struggle for gender equality or for youth participation is taking too long. But I can tell you that it has taken me almost 40 years of struggle to see the benefits of fighting for the rights of women and girls, and to make sure that
we seem to have lost Mama Gawanis. I think there's some technical difficulties. While we wait and try and see if we can get her back, I'd like to welcome Ms. Anika James Dorothy, who is a member of the Generation Equality Youth Task Force. And as this is a youth forum, I'm really happy to have her here to guide us in terms of, what has she seen so far in the process and what is the potential of our organizing for the next 5 years. So welcome, Anika.
Thank you so much, Saida. It's a great honor to be here. I look at my topic today on, the inclusion of young people in the African young people in the action coalitions. The journey to GEF has been a long one, as you all know. But the one thing that the Youth Task Force was very passionate about is consistency in pushing for inclusion. We realize that as much as the world's narrative is about inclusion, the implementing and actualizing of it, it's taking a little bit more time for people to accommodate. One thing that is difficult about inclusion is that it often includes resources. And this is something that a lot of budgets have not looked at, a lot of engagements have not looked at. It has traditionally been about bringing young people to the table and consulting them, and then implementing what they say. But this time, the Youth Task Force was intentional about ensuring that the participation of young people is resourced. And that is the challenge that we have. And moving towards the action coalitions in the next 5 years, we pushed for youth-led organizations to be selected in each action coalition. One thing that we need to be clear about right now is how they're being resourced within this huge structure of all these huge commitments that have been made. Young people, African young people, are still not clear on who or what. We do know, like, for example, Ford Foundation has pledged, Open Society has pledged, Bill and Melinda Gates, and so forth and so forth. But the actuality of it all is still not clear. So one thing we need to identify: who are our youth? Who are our African youth in the action coalitions? First of all, I do know in the climate change, for example, we have Juanita from Uganda, great organization. They are leading girls in climate change. How are we connecting to them? And how are we holding these people to account to ensure, could they be a channel for young people in Africa to receive support, through them, to other youth-led organizations which look like them? We are aware of issues of capacity. Resourcing young people has always been pegged on movements, the amorphousness of movements, the amorphousness of CBOs or unregistered traits. But this is what I want to say today to everyone listening, is that it's about time that we change the conversations we have in funding, because the traditional developments of scale are exclusionary. They are actually barriers to meaningful youth participation, participation for women, participation for persons with disabilities, minorities, indigenous people, because, anyone who wants to inspire change does not always go to business school to learn about proposals, right? And the one call that the Youth Task Force is doing right now is changing the way we are funding young people, right from the task force itself, from some of the funds they were supposed to receive earlier, but are still, in the works, because we want to establish a blueprint for youth engagement that sets a precedence to ensure that the unique peculiarities of young people are recognized in this generation, moving forward. And this is what generation equality is all about. It's bridging the young people and the old people, or the pioneers of the Beijing Declaration together. But this cannot be done without recognizing the pitfalls and the uniqueness of the circumstances, most of them exacerbated by COVID-19, and realizing how it is that we can actually cater to the specific needs of young people, especially in the global South, and in this case in Africa. It has been noted, like today, looking at food systems, it is important that as Youth of Africa, we look at our priorities. And I'm glad that Nala came up with a Young Feminist Manifesto that puts together what is important for us. I see mental health at the top, intergenerational co-leadership, institutionalization of young people's leadership, and top of that list, I think, is the institutionalization of young people's leadership, because it means that we need to continue repeating how much we want young people to be included in dissemination of decision making, resourcing, budgeting, planning. And right now, civil society is coming together to self-organize, to sort of govern or check systems of checks and balances, to provide that body to the action coalitions to ensure that they stay the course and they continue to be inclusive and held accountable. And we still have questions about how can we be included. So I think that is the one step that we can start in being part of the process, joining other civil society movements, but also repeating the African priorities in these spaces. The power of advocacy has always been said that it is important that we are in the room, and that was the biggest power the Youth Task Force had in influencing the Generation Equality Forum and process. So I thank you very much for this, and I'm sure probably Seda will have more questions moving forward, but that would be my introduction and start to this conversation. Thank you.
Thank you, Anita. And please, as a fellow young person who has experience, being in this process, we welcome you to stay on for the rest of the, like I said, informal youth gathering. I'm glad that we have Mama Biens back with us. And, as Anita was saying, that we really need this intergenerational co-leadership to take shape and to really take root in a very practical way moving forward for the next 5 years. So Mama Goanas, you have the mic.
Thank you very much. I don't know what is happening today, but I will insist that I would love to participate in this very, very important meeting. As I was saying, that generally speaking, the fighting for the rights of women have been with us for a very, very long time. But I think what has happened, especially with the Generation Equality Forum that has taken place, is not that we had not recognized the role of young women or girls before in terms of the conversation and the narrative around gender equality. But I think having really provided youth with a platform and to recognize the whole issues of core leadership and core creation, I think that for me was very important and a very important outcome. As other speakers were saying, there's always going to be that gap between decisions that are taken and the implementation on the ground. Now, I want to give you an example of the IPPF stance on youth within the organization. We have a board of trustees and there is youth representation. And if I talk about youth representation, it's not just numbers. They are very much active. In fact, I am sharing currently a subcommittee set up by the board with about 3 young people looking at the whole issue of anti-Black racism within IPPF. I think that for me is very critical to see how together with the youth, we can really come up with very coherent strategies for the organization. But just recently, one of our youth members on the board, who's from Nepal, just provided us with very, very important information that as a result of advocacy and campaigns spearheaded also by youth within Nepal, it has just passed an abortion act, legalizing abortion in Nepal. Now, I believe that bodily autonomy issues are important for us as older or senior women. But I think it is much more important for young women. You are the ones today that are, subjected to denial of your bodily autonomy because you are apparently not capable of making decisions and choices over your bodies. But as I said at one of the meetings, no one can control your mind. No one can control your heart. And so no one should control your bodies either. And I think that is, very important because you think with your mind about what choices you want to do, or, make over your body. So I think it is very important that those issues, especially at the national level, become clear. In my own country, Namibia, I am supporting young activists that are also asking for respect for their bodily autonomy, but more important for the legalization of abortion in Namibia. I have told them I am there to support them, but I'm not going to take the leadership. It's for them to take the leadership. Not that I'm shying away to speak. I will always be there to support them. I sometimes invite them to my house, sit down around the swimming pool with our legs in the water and have conversations. And I sometimes have to remind them how long the struggle has been and that they don't need to reinvent the wheel. So what I'm saying to all the young people out there are people like myself that are willing to support and be advocates for young people. So don't just look at institutions, but also look at individuals that have the passion and the commitment to wanting to drive the agenda forward. So in conclusion, it is important that you are not always invited to come and participate, but it has to be institutionalized within organizations so that it's not up to somebody's goodwill that you be invited to participate, but it is as of right that you have a right to participate as young people. So, once again, thank you very much for having me on this platform. I know that we have limited time, but I am quite open for if there are any questions, or I don't know how you have tailored the program. I was supposed to be right at the beginning, but I am available for a few more minutes if that is okay with you. But all the best of luck, and know that you have got our support.
Thank you so much, Mama Gowanus. And yes, please, if you have a few more minutes, please stay with us and join in. This is a youth space, but we're always welcome to have you here and share with us and to listen to the young people that will be connecting and sharing today. So just as a reminder for everybody who is watching us and via live stream, please feel free to use the comment section on any of our social media to engage with us and to participate. We'd love to hear your stories and where you're coming from and what's happening in the context that you are in. For all those that are logging in via Zoom, please use the chat box for the same. So we're entering a storytelling phase of this space or this gathering. And we're happy to have with us a few organizations and a few people that are part of these organizations from the Action Coalition countries to really speak to the thematic areas that their countries are focusing on and share with us some of the context around those issues, what they are witnessing and what they are noticing is happening on the ground. I would invite us as listeners to these stories to please listen to what the values are that you're hearing in these stories, what are the obstacles that are being overcome, and what is inspiring the storyteller around this thematic areas. So just as a reminder, the thematic areas for the Action Coalition are gender-based violence, economic justice and rights, bodily autonomy and sexual and reproductive health and rights, feminist action for climate change, technology and innovation for gender equality, and feminist movements and leadership. I would like to now hand over to my colleague, Sodfa Daji, to take us through this process of storytelling. Sodfa.
Thank you very much, Reem, for guiding us to this storytelling session. My name is Sodfa and I am the campaign coordinator of Nalafem Feminist Collective. First of all, happy International Youth Day, young people from the continent. This is absolutely brilliant and exciting. Despite the very challenging times, I think we are all tired and fed up to meet up on Zoom, but we still believe in the power of providing a platform and connecting a strong Pan-Africanist. And we will have this moment of connection indeed during the storytelling session. Many wonderful inputs were given already during the opening remarks by Anika, by Madame Gawanas, and also we have heard the journey of action coalitions, which as Nala Feminist Collective, we've been very much involved. And we are now here with one question. How do we make sure we implement at national level these action coalitions commitments beyond the country leaders? The gender equality agenda has no border, and it's our duty as the leaders of today to make sure that gender equality is intersected in our work. And we're going to hear today from 6 powerful advocates, actually 5, the organization from Rwanda couldn't join, who will share with us what are the challenges, what are the struggles. They will just share about their remarkable work and what does it mean being a young person involved and advocating for the implementation of action coalitions. In this month, I've been coordinating our 6 intergenerational dialogues taking place in Kenya, Burkina Faso, Malawi, Tunisia, South Africa, and Rwanda. And I am amazed by the resilience of these youth organizations and their representatives. There is no pandemic, there are no bureaucratic challenges. They are providing platforms regardless, and they are doing so in a radical way. Young people first, young people are the experts, and that's what I want to hear. So I'm very pleased for the next 1 hour and 15 minutes to guide this conversation, and I very much look forward to hear the remarks. And I would like to start from Anne Mugo from Positive Young Women Voices. Hi, Anne, can you hear me?
Hi, Sodfa. Hi, how are you?
I'm good. I can hear you and I can see you. Thank you so much for joining, Anne. It's really exciting. First of all, Anne, can you please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit more about Positive Young Women Voices?
So, hi everybody, and a happy International Youth Day to everybody in this call. My name is Anne Mogo. I'm a Communication, Advocacy and Engagement Officer at Positive Young Women Voices. Positive Young Women Voices, or PYWV in short, is a community-based organization that is based in Dandora, Kenya. And what we do is we work for adolescent girls and young women in their diversities by advancing their rights through health, advocacy, education, and socio-economic empowerment. Yes. I think that's
Thank you very much. And I mean, the work of Positive Young Women Voices is remarkable. So please go into the social media, follow the pages. Indeed, it's a community-based organization. And I've had the pleasure to work with Anne to host the Intergenerational Dialogues for Accountability in Kenya. And let me tell you, these ladies made sure to shift from physical to virtual in 3 days. The work was very remarkable. So Anne, I would like to hand over to you as you tell us, how was the dialogue? What came out? And more broadly, what is youth experience as it comes to gender-based violence? I think there are some internet challenges with Anne.
Hi, did I lose you?
Yes, Anne? Okay, you are back.
Sorry, I don't know what's happening with my Zoom today.
And no worries, that's the reality of internet. And just as an announcement, even my internet is not going well. So if I disappear, please be assured that I will come back. I hope, have you heard my question or should I repeat it?
Please go again. I didn't actually get it.
No worries. Yes, I was saying that, so Positive Young Women Voices with Dandora Community Justice Center, you have organized the Nalafem Intergenerational Dialogue for Accountability in Kenya. Can you highlight some of the main points that emerged from the panelists, but broadly, based on your work, what's the status of gender-based violence in Kenya and why it's important having young people advocating for its eradication?
So yeah, okay. Last Friday, and as you mentioned, we held the intergenerational dialogue in Kenya virtually. So the original plan was to do a physical dialogue, but the COVID situation changed in Kenya and we had to shift and organize over 3 days, as you stated. We managed to, however, successfully hold the dialogue that brought together stakeholders from the Kenyan government, development partners, including the European Union, the UN Women and UNFPA representatives, and the European Union also joined us. But particularly, we also got to listen to young people who are GBV activists. And yes, I'm speaking as from Kenya on GBV Action Coalition, because that is what our president committed on. Kenya is a gender-based violence action coalition leader. So we were looking at the commitments that were made and how we could possibly involve these young people in driving accountability of those commitments. And during the session, we got to hear a lot from the stakeholders who were very willing and gave commitments to continue involving young people in Kenya, and I guess in Africa generally, in the commitments in pushing for accountability, and as the speakers before said, in particularly having an accountability framework and how people can get involved. But what was key for me is necessarily from young people who raised issues such as the emerging issue of cross-border FGM that is generally ignored in advocacy in terms of ending female genital mutilation. Because what happens in this country is that once authorities are trying to stop this practice at a certain region, then people move on to another region when it is not happy, where the authorities are not as keen as much, and that the practice continues. So that was one issue that was raised. I remember another young people raising the issue of the commitments themselves not being accessible to other young people, that from the language, people do not really understand what generation equality action commitments are about. They just hear it, but it is not really translated into a language that we all, our young people in grassroots can understand. And that is one call that was also key for me, and that we need to translate this language to make sure it gets into the grassroots, such that as we continue to advocate, then we know the people we are advocating for can benefit from this action, the action commitments, and from our actions, and not and as such we will not stand in a point where that the action coalition commitments are just alienating people, and it does not stand to be a policy, just a policy dialogue that does not really benefit the people we are actually to change, we are actually trying to help. Yes, I don't know whether I have answered the question, but so I will move on to what we do as Positive Young Women Voices on Gender-Based Violence. And what we have been in this space for about 2 years as a community-based organization. Sorry, I know Sodfa, you are aware we did this in partnership with Dandola Community Justice Center. And I forgot to mention that I don't think my colleague Claire was able to join us today, but maybe subsequently she'll be able to join. So I will speak on the position of Positive Young Women Voices. So what we do is, on particularly gender-based violence, is do trainings with young people, particularly young women in their diversities. These are young women who identify as lesbian, gay, and queer. And these are young women who are teenage mothers, young women who are out of school, young women who are in business. So what we do is train them on gender-based violence, what it is, what they can do to stop it, the various forms of gender-based violence. And in these trainings, then we get feedback, which guides our programming on how best we can respond to gender-based violence at the community level. So far, we have managed to train about 200 young women, and about 50 men over the last 1 year, because we recognize that the community, we cannot do this from a separate approach, that we cannot only focus on young women and leave the men out of this conversation, because what we realize is a lot of them do not have the agency to make these decisions on their own. So we tend to we try and incorporate these trainings with men, as they are mostly the perpetrators of GBV at our community. Besides the trainings, we do outreaches, because we realize we cannot bring the whole community in our structured trainings. So we go in the community, maybe in a particular Saturday per month, and then go around speaking to people who are going about their businesses on what GBV is, why they tolerate it, in an attempt to change social norms and to educate and to help survivors of gender-based violence. Now, from this work, we have faced a lot of challenges so far, but been more.
I think we're losing you again, Anne. Anne, can you hear us? We're having some challenges with Anne internet.
Hello.
Hi, Anne, can you hear us? Okay, she disconnected. I guess she will join in a few seconds. But in the meantime, to the participants, I hope you are enjoying the conversation in terms of the work that as a youth organization they are doing to tackle gender-based violence. And we were about to hear about the challenges which probably speak to the work that many of you are doing. Anne, can you hear us?
Yes, I'm going to keep my video off. I don't think my bandwidth is good today. So
okay.
Yeah, I don't know whether you got me, but
you were about to tell us about the challenges.
Okay, yes. So we face a lot of challenges in terms of resources, but I think that is a problem moreover. So I think what really is a problem for us that we feel we need to see action, maybe from outside stakeholders on our part, is on the broken justice mechanisms, because we help a lot of GBV survivors, we come across a lot of them, but what is like the broken link is that they cannot access justice. And this is as a result of many factors, including corruptions in the authorities, maybe in police stations, and it's also including stigma that is directed at GBV survivors. So what we try to do with this challenge is formulate a relationship with local authorities, with local police stations, with the local members of county assemblies, so that when we have in cases of gender-based violence and survivors, then we can refer or we can help them access justice through working through those relationships and rapport that we have created as a community-based organization. We also do work in partnerships with other organizations that probably have the funding or the means or focus on probably justice when we focus on information sharing. So that is where a lot of our partnerships come through, and particularly with the organization that was our co-organizer, that is the Malawi Community Justice Center, that focuses a lot on and pushing for justice for gender-based violence survivors. Yes, thank you, Sofa.
Thank you very much, Anne. First of all, it's really remarkable the work you're doing, and please keep up the energy. And I really hope that as we are going with the forum, you will connect with many other young people, either in Kenya or beyond, to see how best we can work together. What I hear clearly is one, to which extent the commitments are accessible. Here we are talking about digital divide. Here we are talking also about simplification of language and context and text. But I think you touched a great point, which is about access to justice. That's something that we've been pushing a lot with our Africa Young Women Beijing 25 manifesto. Is one of our key demands, and we still want to push for it. So I think you raised that in terms of what are we witnessing? How do we make sure that we eradicate gender-based violence? Access to justice remains a priority. Another priority is funding. That's what I heard clearly when I joined from Anika. Indeed, there is this misconception that youth organizations should do, volunteer work, or should be not resourced because they can mobilize at community level. This is wrong. And so we want also to push that conversation in terms of resourcing youth and young women organizations working at community level to make sure they can scale up their impact. So once again, thank you so much. And definitely for those interested, you can watch the recording of the Nalafem IGD for accountability in Kenya. On the same, we will be disseminating a report, and we will be disseminating the outcomes of that dialogue, which is just one of the first conversation we will be having in Kenya to make sure the implementation of the Action Coalition commitments on gender-based violence are duly implemented at national level. I would like now to invite Pamela. Pamela is from South Africa, and just yesterday she has hosted an incredible Nalafem Intergenerational Dialogue for Accountability in South Africa. Pamela, can you hear me? You are muted.
I can hear you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Sotva, for being so helpful and available almost all the time. I would like to introduce myself. My name is Pamela, and we are from South Africa. We from the organization Center for Socio-Economic Transformation. We just hosted our other IDG for accountability in South Africa, and it was a success. It was stressful. It was a whole lot of things, but at the end, it was paying. It was everything that we'd hoped for. So I'd like to just explain a bit about what we do as Center for Socio-Economic Transformation. Our goal is to just have Africa at the forefront. We want to have young people, grassroots women, girls. We want to have them educated. We want to have them empowered. We want to really seek empowerment and equality. So we're really pushing for gender equity and equality, and we're really pushing for education. And all the same, we want to reach social and economic justice for all women and girls in Southern Africa. We are based in South Africa, and we're also based in Zimbabwe, Harare, and we're doing quite a lot of work with young women and girls. What I would really want to talk about is the interconnectedness of the Action Coalition commitments. We can't really talk about economic justice and rights without talking about what's causing it, which is coming from gender-based violence. It's coming from a whole lot of aspects of life, and it really comes down to economic injustice in Africa as a whole. Say, for example, we had 2,695 women murdered between 2020 and 2021. And so we were not only fighting economic justice at this point, we were fighting gender-based violence and COVID-19 at the same time. So there's a really huge shift of focus. So instead of fighting or wanting to create equality in our economy, we have to fight other things like gender-based violence, which is really bad, because here in South Africa, gender-based violence is 5 times worse than the average world record, and it's really bad. It's quite a situation. It's quite a pandemic within a pandemic, I'd like to say. So we're really facing a lot of challenges. We have women are in fear, so to speak, they're in fear. We don't have safe spaces for women. So really having Nalafem organize this event, it was a really good place for women to talk about these things. And it really gave us an opportunity to really touch ground and actually just talk about everything that has been going on in our communities, that has been affecting women. So as we were at the event, we agreed that we're actually in the right room today. And the glass is actually not half empty, it's actually half full, because us having this platform, it made us realize that change is actually coming, and it's inevitable, and women are feeling empowered, and we're having a lot of a lot of women that are coming forward and that want to talk about this, that want to talk about gender-based violence, that want to talk about leadership, that want to get involved really. So what we actually realized during our session and our the panel, we had a good very powerful women in the panel. We had the mayor, we had a lot of councillors, we had a lot of we had business people, and we had health workers talking about economic justice for women. What we found out was that the government is actually willing to help women in business. What we do not have, however, is that women, they're not as educated in business. They're not given the platform to know business or entrepreneurship. They just don't know how to do it. They're not given that opportunity to learn about business. Because of the fear just the fear they have that men can do this, this is for men, and this is supposed to be done by men. They just don't want to approach business. That's why we don't have economic justice. So it's more structured, it's more planned, it's more, it's just embedded in our minds. So we have girls growing up and knowing that when I grow up, I'm going to be a wife. So there's a lot of education that needs to be done, and we need to educate women and girls that there's actually a world of economic freedom for women. There's actually a world of just basically freedom for women, because we have a lot of women thinking that being a wife is the only thing that you can do. Business is not for us. We cannot do this and you cannot do that. So the only thing that we have a lot of things that are happening, but there's lack of education. We do not have education. We don't have safe spaces and platforms. Thanks to Nala, we had this chat, and there was a lot of, it was eye-opening for a lot of women, and it was quite educating as well. So we really want to acknowledge this this platform, and that a lot of women have come forward and they really want to work with us. So we are really challenging structures. We're really challenging the things that they thought that they couldn't do, which these are things that they can actually do. So we have really touched our ground in terms of economic justice, and we were able to really hold the government accountable for their promises, rather. So the next 5 years is going to be exciting, because we are not leaving anyone behind. We're taking women and girls right on our shoulders, the Center for Socio-Economic Transformation. We are so excited, because we are not just going to preach. We are really going to do. We are doing, we are pulling down curtains, we are destroying walls. We want to be sitting in those places that they're going to be talking. What are you talking about without us? The councillor, we have Councillor Mabato, she said that there's a lot of councillors. There are about more than 200 councillors in the region that we're in Durban, and there's less than 100 female councillors. So really, if we have more than 50% of women in KZN and we have less councillors, then what are you really doing? What are you talking about? We are the women. We want to be involved. We want to sit on those tables. We want to be involved in these discussions that you're having. So we're really opening doors. We're really pulling down curtains. We really we want to get in there. So we're carrying women and girls right on our shoulders, and we're taking them in there. We're taking them into power. We're taking them into, we want to teach them leadership, basically. We want to teach them, and we want to let them know that they can actually do this. There's really nothing that we can't do as women. We really think that more education, more platforms, and more of the seminars that we have done, such as this one that was organized by Nalafem, it's what we need as women. It's more of a reminder. It's more of an empowerment kind of groove that they need, and it's going to really help them adjust and to just unscrew anything and everything that has been embedded in their minds. So that is what we're having here in South Africa. So there's lack of education. There's obviously discrimination, and it's actually said that we have this up to now discrimination. It's a serious situation. It's a serious issue, and obviously resources. It's one of the things that we have been trying to tackle. We don't NGOs are not really getting, especially new NGOs. We've been doing this for the past 3 years, and we're not really getting enough resources to carry out our work, which is a lot of work. And really, if we want to see change, if we want to really drive women, we want to really drive our generation equality, there is need for resources for us to carry out our work. So that is also one thing that we actually might be lacking, and that is a problem. And then obviously access to justice. There's no real access to justice. Say, for example, like I was talking about fear, when women go to the police, like they want to report a case or what is going on at home, they are turned away. So there's no statistics that are really real and tangible that are recording what is going on with women. Our police has actually become counselors or psychologists. They turn you away and they try to tell you it's going to be okay. It's a civil matter. It's a case that you guys can talk about, and they send you away with a narcissist. So we're not going to be focusing about our economic freedom. We're going to be focusing about how to fix things at home, and we have to stay at home and really just heal our wounds, and we're not going out there in the workplace. So obviously access to justice is also an issue for us as women. So we really want to do more of this, and we are so excited to be carrying this out, and the next 5 years is really going to be exciting, and we are really happy and we're really grateful for this opportunity, and thank you so much.
Thank you very much for sharing, first of all, some of the outcomes of the Nalafem Intergenerational Dialogue for Accountability in South Africa, but also what you are witnessing in terms of, yes, South Africa is leading the economic justice in terms of action coalition, but there are many other issues that are intersecting. We are talking about cultural norms, we are talking about gender-based violence, subsequently access to justice, and economic empowerment remains a key. That we need to make sure that we dismantle cultural norms that relegate women in certain positions or certain profiles, and instead we leverage women in leadership, in different forms of leadership, and on the same we make sure that women are fully empowered. Indeed, it was a very exciting conversation. The Nalafem Intergenerational Dialogue for Accountability in South Africa was streamed as well, so feel free to head to Nalafem page to rewatch or watch in case you haven't seen it yet, the valuable conversation. And it's really exciting. Once again, I think this is one of the best campaigns I've ever been part of. Because when you talk with different organizations coming from different countries, regions, and even languages, you think that there are differences, which indeed they are. For some countries, internet is more accessible compared to some other countries. In some countries, it is easier doing certain things, organizing certain events. But something that I'm hearing very commonly is we are not sourced enough. We don't have resources, although we know we have the power to do impact. We are the leaders of today. We know what young women need because we are women ourselves. And whatever you are describing, you are witnessing it in the first place. Discrimination, abuse of power, violence, and all these forms of accessing empowerment, economic opportunities. So I'm very excited to hear these testimonies, and I look forward to, pass it over to all the participants, as I want to hear from many other countries, many other circumstances, and also from our male allies. Before doing so, I would like now to invite Rugare Shalom from For Equality. Rugare will be hosting the Nalafem Intergenerational Dialogue for Accountability in Malawi tomorrow. So please, let's send her all our best wishes and good luck. And please feel free to connect in our Facebook page and be part of the conversation, regardless if you are from Malawi or not, to hear about what is it about feminist leadership and movement. And what are you witnessing? Why this is relevant? And how, as young people, we can support young people from Malawi to make sure the commitments are implemented. The floor is yours. You are muted.
Hi, everyone. Welcome and welcome. Yeah, I'm reaching out to you from the warm heart of Africa, which is Malawi. My name is Rugaya Shalom Zimunya, and I'm working with an amazing organization called For Equality. We're basically working to create a gender equal and just Africa. So gender equality is what we're about. And so we're super excited to have Nala supporting us in having the intergenerational dialogue tomorrow. I had to run, we're currently in a community and I had to run to be in the car just to do this. I'm super excited and it's so inspiring to hear the stories of the other countries. So we are holding the dialogue tomorrow. However, we've really been fortunate to get support from UN Women to hold sort of a national tour. So we've been going around different districts to actually discuss the generation equality commitments that Malawi has made people, because we believe that when people have knowledge, they're able to advocate better for their rights. And so we're really going around different districts in the country, just talking to young people about these commitments, what it means for them. And so definitely from engaging with young people, we've come to hear so much about what they have to say, most of which I think will inform advocacy moving forward, but some of which can also inform recommendations, I think, for policymakers to take into consideration the next time that these processes are taking place. And so Malawi is co-leading on the Action Coalition on Feminist Movement and Leadership, which is quite interesting because I think one of the very big challenges on the ground is that the moment you mention feminism in Malawi, people are either turning, an eye, people are just not interested anymore because there's a very negative connotation around feminism in Malawi. It's regarded as, it's a movement for angry people, angry women, very anti-men. And so I think one of the challenges on the ground, which should actually be exciting to dive into, would have to be, how do we localize feminism? How do we get people to understand what feminism is and what it is not? And apologies. Yes, so how do we get people to really, sorry, I apologize for the noise. So how do we really get people to understand what feminism is and what it's about and how we can use this as a tool for change? But then in terms of the actual, before I get into, some of the challenges that we've had in regards to the commitment themselves, I think part of what has come up in the recommendations has been issues around involving young people in the consultative processes leading up to these commitments. And so there were certain young people that felt that this was not really a process that involved them. A lot of young people, actually for all the groups of young people we've been meeting, they had no idea that there was a forum going on. They had no idea that, the commitments that have been signed. And so I think going back to the issue of involving young people in consultative processes, and then some of the issues that also then came up from them now going into the different commitments, specifically the Malawi commitments, where there's a need for proper monitoring and evaluation of these policies, because young people want to be able to hold government and CSOs accountable to say, okay, are we really sticking to the commitments? And are we really working in line with what the commitments are speaking to? And so can we have frameworks that can be made available to the public that speak to what are the indicators that we're looking at, in which districts is this going to be implemented, and how is it going to be implemented so that we can hold government accountable. And also one of the other things tying in from what the previous speaker just said, Pamela, around resources, because one of our commitments specifically say 10% of all development funding will be going towards gender equality. So young people really were keen to know how exactly will these funds trickle down to district level? Is it going to be implemented or incorporated into the district development plans? So that was that on the challenges, but there were also lots of opportunities, which is why we're so excited, because I think if there's one thing young people are good at, it's coming up with innovations and coming up with, exciting opportunities for change. And so one of the things that's really exciting about this opportunity is that there's so many young people who are keen. As soon as we shared this knowledge with young people, there was this drive you could tell that young people are really excited to drive forward the agenda of gender equality. And so that's something that we have working in our favor. And they want to know, how can we partner with you? How can we begin to work with you to make sure that we're advancing gender equality? And I think the other opportunity that we definitely see is that there's a growing support for feminist movements in Malawi. So in as much as, yes, we're coming from a history of, you know, people looking down on feminism and not really understanding what it is, but we also have a new age understanding and growing demand for people who want to understand what feminism is, what it's about, and what it stands for. And so those are some of the opportunities that we've really enjoyed. And yeah, so basically that's what I would have to share. I'm not sure if you have any other questions for me, Satfa.
First of all, Regale, thank you so much for the work you're doing. Hearing that you're going within communities to raise awareness about the commitments, because here is the point. We need to get ownership about these commitments to then establish a mechanism of accountability. But if people are not aware about these commitments, then how do we move forward in terms of accountability and in terms of advocacy? Secondly, I liked your point about how there is a misinterpretation about feminism, which, by the way, is that bad if women are angry? I mean, I'm angry for many reasons. I'm discriminated. I'm hearing of women being killed. I'm hearing of women being abused. So anger is part of our emotions, and it's very much motivated. So it's about also the narrative and, you know, are women allowed to be angry for their rights? Are women allowed to demand for their rights, as women's rights are human rights? And funding, sensitization, that's what we are witnessing. We are witnessing a growing movement of young feminists. And this movement that takes form in different forms, you know. We have formal, non-formal, informal, not registered, and that's why we open it to everyone. Has to be funded, because we are seeing the seeds and the impact that each movement is giving. And as Nala, we think of us as a platform, indeed, to bring all these realities together in a way that Rugare, Pamela, Anne can connect, can share, and perhaps do something together in the different countries and realities and even action coalitions. So I'm really excited to hear about these outcomes, and apologies, I had to turn off my videos. My internet is a little bit shaky. I would like to remind that this is streamed on Facebook as well. If you're missing any part, please go rewatch it. And today is just day one of our forum. We will take tomorrow and after tomorrow to dive deeper in a way that we get practical recommendation and we define together a way forward to make sure that there is implementations of the Action Coalition's commitments. We were supposed to hear also from Yasmin from Tunisia and Benedict from Burkina Faso. Benedict couldn't join, and Yasmin is actually facing an emergency with electricity. So I will say that as we wait for them to join, I would like to hand over to the participants. We have heard stories. We have heard what is about young feminists. What are they witnessing in Malawi, in South Africa, in Kenya? What are you witnessing in your respective countries, in your respective realities? And this is a youth forum, so feel free to raise your hand and you will have the floor. Who wants to go first? As I'm seeing a lot of comments in the chat as well. Anyone wants to go first? Yes. Oluwatobiloba Ayodele, and I hope I pronounced well your name. Please introduce yourself and feel free to unmute and also open the video if you are allowed, and the floor is yours.
Good afternoon, everyone. Yeah, you got it a little bit right. So I'm going to score you like 4/5. I'm Oluwatobi Ayodele, and I am from Nigeria. And I just wanted to talk briefly about generation equality here in Nigeria. So I participated in GEF virtually at the Mexico and at the Paris Forum. You know, although I got my link quite late, at the Paris Forum, but fortunately I was able to join virtually. And you know, the opening ceremony was the highlight of the GEF for me at the Paris Forum. It was the energy around young people, the commitment, it was exciting to see. Unfortunately, Nigeria did not make any commitments, any statements, no report whatsoever at the GEF. Although before the GEF, I was part of the stakeholders that did advocacy visits to the ministries and government agencies regarding GEF and what are their commitments and what would they be pushing forward. So we were open and looking forward to something that Nigeria will push forward at the GEF, but unfortunately we didn't see that. So right now for us in Nigeria, as young people, we are just, you know, hoping that we get to push our own concerns and issues to the government, since they didn't, you know, they didn't say anything. All we hear from them is silence, and we know that we can't hold them accountable for anything concerning GEF commitment. But we know that we have our own concerns. Our issues are valid. What we are facing here, the reality of women and girls, are valid. So we are documenting and we are pushing our concerns. For our organization, I work with Vision Spring Initiative. We were able to highlight 3 action coalitions: feminist movement and leadership, bodily autonomy and sexual and reproductive health and rights, and then feminist action on climate change, in partnership with other CSOs and NGOs in Nigeria. So we were able to write out demands on all of those action coalitions as it relates to young people. You know, young people were in the room creating the demands and writing the issues that affect us. So it was exciting to be part of that. And then we were hoping that at the GEF, we'll be able to present that to the government, to the Nigerian government, when they are after their own commitments at the global level. But unfortunately, we didn't see that. But we still hold our own demands, and we are still going to push forward in our advocacy. So yeah, that's just what I wanted to comment on. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And again, regardless, I think there is a sense of ownership, you know, the Action Coalition commitments. And the beauty of these commitments is that all of them speak to our reality in a way or another.
Exactly.
So that's the roadmap. And I'm very glad to hear your powerful call to action. We have our demands. We're going to push for our demands, regardless from whether the government has committed or not. And I'm very, very glad. So please, if you're familiar with our work as Nalafem, feel free to reach out. We have started with the Action Coalition leaders, but this is not preventing us to go beyond. And we would like to hear your idea, how best we can implement this in Nigeria. What you are witnessing exactly? What is the emergence in Nigeria? And we can definitely work together. And this is a call for all participants as well. We are a Pan-African platform, solidarity is there. So feel free to connect among each other. We have the chat, share your contacts, and let's bond each other as we are becoming a community. Thank you very much. I would like now to hand over to the next participant. Who wants to go next? Feel free to share what are you witnessing in your respective country, community, or to react to what previous speakers have mentioned. Yes, Pamela?
Yeah, okay, so I just wanted to start to talk a bit about what girls are experiencing both in Zimbabwe and in South Africa. Unfortunately, there was no commitment made by our leaders in Zimbabwe, but there are really issues that are affecting women and girls in Zimbabwe and in South Africa. We have an issue of child marriage going on at the moment. Not at the moment, that has been going on for a long time. We have young girls as young as 9, 8 years old getting married in a polygamous situation. We have young girls that are going out of school in the name of religion, and they're using the Bible and religion. So this is really leading them into poverty, abuse, a lot of human inequalities that are really going on in our communities. And it's really scary, and it touches us a lot, because the government is not saying anything also. They're not really saying anything or really not doing anything about it. And again, there's no resources that is going towards organizations that are talking about child marriage. There's an issue that has recently happened of an issue of a 14-year-old that died at a church shrine while giving birth. She was giving birth, and they don't have the church, apparently they're not allowed to take women or use hospitals. It's a thing. So basically sexual health is also a problem for women. There's no care that is being given by the government in terms of women going through pregnancies, in terms of young girls being forced into marriages and being sold for a piece of land or being sold for a plastic bag of groceries. And it's really affecting us as young people. It's really affecting us as organizations, because we cannot really do much of work when they are not really saying anything at all, or really giving us the platform to talk about it, or shutting us off when we were trying to send messages on the internet, or trying to bring people to talk about issues affecting little girls. So a lot of girls are out of school. A lot of girls are not able to, they're normalizing it. It's actually normal in our communities that young girls are getting married, and they're also acceptive of it. It's really bad. The situation is really bad at the moment, and we really want to do some work in this situation of child marriage. It is very connected also to economic justice. It is actually, because what we see right now is poverty in young women. What we see right now is women, young girls not being able to finish their education, not even start their education. At 9-year-olds, you're supposed to be in about grade 3, so grade 4, grade 5. And what are you doing? These are places that we're not supposed to see young girls. Young girls are supposed to be in school. Young girls are supposed to be learning about leadership, learning about what they want to do in life. And we are really scared at where this is going, because while our government is not saying anything, NGOs are also really not getting resources to actually say anything or to be heard, because this is happening mostly in the rural areas where we find the young girls and the grassroots women. So we want to talk about this. We are also thinking of going to them and tell them this is what we're facing, and we want you to say something about it. So this is what we're facing in our communities. There's a lot of other issues going on. There's drug abuse. There's just hopelessness in our communities, because once this happens, what is going to happen to the next girl or someone, the next girl who was hopeful about the future? This is what they're normalizing. So we have early child marriage. We have little kids, little girls, 14, 15, 16 years old, falling pregnant. And there's also no abortion that is really allowed in our country, in Zimbabwe. It's not quite allowed. We can't talk about it. It's a scary situation. It's a scary issue to even talk about. So this is what we're facing in our communities, and we want to do some work. We want to really help. We want to educate. So we want to be a part of this movement and really educate girls and young women. So I just wanted to point that out and just let you know that this is happening in our communities.
Thank you very much, Pamela. Indeed, when we talk about young women and women, we position within this definition girls, and foremost girls. And education is such a powerful tool. It's one of our demands as the Africa Young Women Beijing 25 Manifesto, not just education, education of quality, not just education of quality, gender sensitive education. This is a platform that we need to highlight when we talk about financing education, when we talk about financing digital education, when we talk about investing in education, because it's a powerful tool, not just to eradicate gender-based violence, but also in terms of peace and security, conflict resolution, and many other aspects. That's the key. I'm seeing the hand up from KK Malik. Now, I guess your name is Malik. You're muted.
Warm greetings to all of you. Am I audible, ma'am? Hello. Okay.
Yes, we can hear.
Yeah, this is my opportunity in front of you people. I'm from India. I'm a social changes filmmaker and also a news correspondent in Calcutta, in my region. I attend lots of programs in this lockdown period, but today the topic is very important, and reason is how we can engage the youth in several positions. It is needed first, because every segment in every field, lots of problem in problem depend the climate, and problem depend on the situation, and every country having their own problem, but we can do something for the society. Not only I want to say, not only a webinar or a video conference is needed. It is very important to regular basis campaigning in the respected fields, not only in Africa, in India, and in South Asia, Asian region. They are having lots of problem in different issues. It may be poverty, it may be education, it may be Child Protection Act, in different way. But if we are able to engage more and more people for the youth development activities, then youth can be engaged and they will not be disturbed in their mind. So my appeal to you people, kindly arrange some youth development program, then youth can be engaged and they will definitely realize what they have to do for their family, for their society, for their country also. And if you people give me the permission, then definitely I will directly email you what kind of my ideas and my opinion. Then definitely I will share all these things through my email, and definitely I will expect some feedback from you people, what I want to say, what you people can do like this. And thank you all of you to giving me the chance in this floor. Thank you, ma'am. Have a good day. Namaste, hola, and everything.
Thank you very much. It's really exciting hearing the perspective beyond the African continent. At the end, as I was saying, sustainable development goals, emergencies, especially with COVID, have hit all of us. So it's really good that we go even beyond our borders and we try to see for a global strategy. I completely agree with your point. I just shared our email. Feel free to email us and definitely we will revert. We look forward to hearing about your plan. This is just day one of the forum. Tomorrow and after tomorrow, we will keep alive the conversation. In this regard, Steve, I'm seeing your hand up, but before that, I would like to give the floor to Bénédicte. Elle va parler en français. Salut, Bénédicte. So please feel free to turn on the interpretation, which we are providing for Bénédicte from Burkina Faso, representing Feminist. They will be organizing the intergenerational dialogue in Burkina Faso next week. And I'm very much looking forward to hearing about what she is witnessing in Burkina Faso in terms of bodily autonomy and sexual reproductive health and rights. Bénédicte, tu m'entends? Salut, Bénédicte.
Bonjour, Sotfa.
Bonjour, Bénédicte. OK.
J'ai pas bien entendu la question. Si tu pouvais répéter à cause de
oui, bien
la
sûr,
connexion.
Je t'entends parfaitement. Merci beaucoup de nous rejoindre. On est en train de discuter à propos de les coalitions d'action. Par rapport à la jeunesse du Burkina Faso, c'est quelle la condition pour les droits reproductifs et c'est quel le travail en tant que féminin vous faisiez dans la communauté?
OK. On sait que le Burkina Faso a été co-leader dans l'organisation du Forum Génération Égalité. Et notre ministère de la Santé est le ministère qui a porté vraiment le forum. Et les questions de droits sexuels et reproductifs de la très forum, le ministère de la Santé, les actions qui se mènent déjà sur le terrain, c'est-à-dire la communication, la sensibilisation, impliquer la jeunesse également, parce que ce sont les premiers acteurs et les premiers bénéficiaires. Il faut les impliquer dans le processus. Il faut également faire l'éducation par les pairs. C'est les jeunes qui doivent conseiller ou éduquer leurs pairs jeunes également dans ces questions de droits sexuels-là. Aujourd'hui, c'est la journée internationale de la jeunesse et les questions de droits sexuels sont très importantes parce que ce sont les jeunes qui sont qui constituent la frange de la société la plus vulnérable concernant les droits sexuels, vu que nous sommes dans des contextes, dans des sociétés qui sont fortement, où la religion et les traditions sont très ancrées et c'est un peu difficile de discuter de manière ouverte avec les adultes. Donc, les questions de droits sexuels et reproductifs sont très importants ici au Burkina Faso et je pense qu'un peu partout ailleurs en Afrique. Vous m'entendez?
Oui, oui, oui. Oui, merci beaucoup, Bénédicte. Thank you so much. Nous avons l'interprétation, Bénédicte, si tu veux, pour l'accéder en français. Je vais juste maintenant parler en anglais. And what I hear, it's extremely important. As you can see, there are no major differences on what are the calls and what is envisioned. And the work that Bénédicte and her organization are doing is pretty much remarkable. So please, next week, follow the intergenerational dialogue as it will be streamed and follow the social medias of Femina to get to know more about the work they are doing and feel free to get in touch. Now, I would like to, Alès Bénédicte, est-ce que tu as quelques autres commentaires? Okay, I think she's having challenges with the internet. I would like to hand over to Steve as the final comment before we start wrapping up. Steve, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Thank you for affording me this opportunity. I actually made a comment on the chat box about the power of the females. That there's a saying that behind every successful man, there is a woman. And I want to say to you, we have been making the loudest advocacy and lobbying for the longest time over the issues of equality. And it looks like the perpetrators of inequality are us, the male counterparts. So maybe it's time for us to change our strategies. And because for every successful man, there's a woman behind that. Then that woman should lobby for her rights to equality and the rights of a child to equality right from the home setup. So that when it starts escalating to societal setup, we have already made negotiations and lobbied our male counterparts to back us. Because it looks like the male counterparts bank on the females for their successes, but they do not reciprocate the same process to the females. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Steve. What I hear strongly is also the sense of solidarity. As we stand for our male counterparts, males should stand for women. And this is such a powerful message to wrap up today's conversation. And we have been joined by an incredible graphic harvester, Mariam, who I would like to invite to share the screen and guide us on what was collected so far, and also what were the impressions of our conversation. I hope, Mariam, you can hear me.
Yes, I do, but I'm actually trying to connect with my tablet so I can share. So if you give me just a second.
Absolutely, take your time, and welcome, Mariam.
Thanks a lot. It was really a pleasure to join.
I'm not sure if it's my internet, but you're breaking, Mariam.
Okay. I'm just trying. Do you hear?
You're still breaking. Can you try again and see if your network now is a little bit stable? Okay. As Mariam connects and shows us what she has collected so far in terms of our conversation, I would like to invite participants to share one emoji about how you feel after this conversation. How do you feel? Motivated, excited? Are you going to join us tomorrow? Let's keep alive the conversation. What's your favorite emoji? How do you feel about it? I look forward to seeing all type of emojis coming in the chat. Yes, thank you. I'm starting seeing emojis coming. Yes, thank you. Thank you, Pamela. Any other emoji? We are about 26 people. There's no emoji for hopeful, but you're feeling hopeful. Penny, I'm feeling hopeful too. My emojis are resilient, hopeful, happy, motivated, excited. Yes, the fire. And thank you. Thank you, Kaya. Thank you, Sarah. And thank you so much, Sarah, for joining us. That was really, really amazing. And I hope you had the chance to hear the recommendations, the challenges, but also the resilience of young people.
Thank you so much. I'm truly amazed by this debate. It's not only energizing, super interesting, and it's really the content of what we should do in the coming months and years. Thank you so much for inviting me today.
Thank you very much once again for joining us. And I'm still seeing emojis coming. There are hearts, angel, radical, powerful, flowers. I'm really, really excited. And even for me, it was a great pleasure moderating and facilitating this conversation. And I really look forward to the next days of forum as we take all these recommendations with us. And Mariam is joining, has joined.
Yes.
So Mariam, can you hear us?
Sorry, yes, I dropped out, but now I'm here and I'm ready also to show you the graphics to sum up what we have been seeing. So I'm sharing my screen. So do you hear my screen? Do you see my screen? Not here yet.
Yes, we are. We are seeing the screen. Oh, wow.
Great. So yes, to wrap up, actually, it was a really big pleasure to try to visualize and illustrate everything I was hearing. It's really amazing, all the efforts and like facing and fighting the challenges that the different activists from the organizations have been telling, and also our speakers at the beginning, as you have seen, Sarah was speaking about position African youngsters in the implementation of the Action Coalition commitments, and and what is the role of youth in this fight, or let's say efforts, by being a strategy maker, mobilizator of resources, of efforts, and agent of redevability. And then Beyonce was speaking about how the role of African women at the forefront of the achievement of gender equality. And I was really touched by her saying that she is there to support, to encourage, to emphasize all the efforts, but she's not there to lead. And it's the role of youngsters now to lead. And I was also very much remarked with her saying that no one can control your mind, no one can control your heart, and also no one should control your body. And you need to remember that. And talking about taking initiatives, saying that we should not always expect to be invited and to be called out to do actions, but also actions and change efforts should be starting from within. And then with the last speaker, Annika, was speaking about how to connect youth in Africa in order to face the challenges and to find solutions for African involvement to achieve the Action Coalition commitment. And it was very important to highlight the identification of the common priorities and of the institutionalization of African youth leaders. And also just a reminder that in the visual report, we cannot mention everything that has been said, but I was mostly highlighting the most remarkable and the most important element. Not important doesn't mean that the other things are less important, but the one that sum up somehow what had been said. And then the second part of today, we were hearing the storytelling of the youth organizations leaders, fantastic women, really very inspiring, and really it really boosts my motivation and my desire to take more actions and to see what they are challenging and their success stories in advocating for gender equality. We heard Anna Mugo from Positive Young Women Voices from Kenya, speaking about access to justice, and it's important to realize gender equality, the identification of allies who can be there to support us, how can these allies be active actors in our fight or in our advocacy for gender equality. Pamela from Center of Socio-Economic Transformation from South Africa was speaking about the violence and its danger within the society. And I was also mostly touched with her saying violence is a pandemic inside the pandemic. And it is true, Pamela. Thank you for speaking about that. Rugari from Equality from Malawi was speaking about the forum and was speaking about all the efforts that they are doing also in order to achieve gender equality. And she was also highlighting the misinterpretation of feminism and how it can be a big problem because people are fighting feminism without even understanding that it's not against men, that like trying to let go of the traditional understanding of that and believing that this has only taken us forward and not back. And last but not least, with Benedict from Feminine Burkina Faso, Benedict was speaking about the importance of the recognition of reproductive and sexual rights and how much it is important to know your rights and to be able to defend them, especially that in some countries abortion is illegal and sometimes there's a different obstacles like, I don't know, religion, society, and so on. I still have to put down the interventions from some of you at the end, but you are really faster than I am, so I'll take a couple of moments later to add the last comments, and I'm sure that the organizers will share with you the visuals afterward. This is only the first day, and I'm really looking forward for tomorrow and after tomorrow. Thank you, Sotfa. I pass the floor to you.
It's incredible what you have been able to do as we were chatting, talking, and passing the floor among each other. That's brilliant. And thank you so much, Mariam. No worries. We are registering the entire dialogue on the same. We have great volunteers. They are taking the notes and capturing quotes. So whatever was not captured in the graphic harvesting, no worries, as Nala, we will do cards and we will disseminate this around, because whatever you have said is extremely important and remains in our record. Is anyone talking? Sorry, I'm not sure. My internet is a little bit bad. I would like to thank you all for joining the first day of the dialogue. This was extremely powerful and interesting. I have a lot of energy in me. Please have a lovely evening, and I will see you all tomorrow. Take care. Bye-bye.